Don't echo. Alright. Not yesterday. Friday, we graphed systems. And if you remember, we had 3 different options of what they would look like. They'd look like 2 lines with an intersection point, right? Or they would look like parallel lines that never touched. Or they would look like the same line, right? Alright, so we are going to keep graphing today, but instead of graphing equations, we're going to graph inequalities. So that means the lines are either going to be solid or dashed, and we're either going to shade above or below. Now what happens is, since we're doing 2 inequalities, the solution is going to be where the shaded regions overlap. Alright. So we have 2 equations, or 2 inequalities. We're going to graph both of those, and then we're going to put them together. For this first example, we're going to graph each of them by themselves, and then we're going to put it together. But on your homework, you can just do the final graph. You don't have to make 3. I'll kind of show you. Alright, so this first graph is going to be for x minus 2y is less than 6. Can we graph that the way it is? No. What do we need to do?
You need to get the minus x.
Okay. What's the purpose of subtracting x?
Isolate the y. Because he's not working.
To isolate the y. Thank you. Okay, so negative 2y is less than negative x plus 6. Now what? Divide by negative 2. If we divide one side by negative 2, we divide everything by negative 2. And what happened? Have to flip the sign because we divided by a negative. So y will be greater than, what's the slope? It's going to be a positive 1/2 because negative divided by negative is positive. And then x, and what will be the intercept? Negative 3. Alright, so now it is ready to be graphed. So make your axes. That was pretty close. We start our graph at negative 3, right? And where are we going to go from there? What's this? Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. We can go opposite. Down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. Now, this is an inequality, so we have to ask ourselves some questions. Should this line be solid or dashed? What did you say? Dashed, right? Because it does not have the or equal to part of it. So it's dashed, and are we going to shade above it or below it? It is greater than, so we're going to go above. So we shade all of this up here.
I always forget the dash here, and I'll make you a note on like dashed line, not full.
Maybe someday you can remember. The next inequality already has the y isolated, so we don't have to do that. So that's nice. So make your axes for that one. Where do we start our graph for this one?
Negative 5.
At 5, and where do we go from 5? Down 3, right 2. Down 3, right 2. Or up 3, left 2. Solid or dashed?
Solid.
Solid is correct because it's or equal to. It includes that line. And then are we going to shade above or below? It's less than, so we shade below. So it's everything down here. Now those are not the answer to our system. We need where those two graphs overlap. So we kind of did them each separately to see what they look like, and we're going to put them together on this last graph to actually get our answer. So make your axes again.
We don't have to make 3 different graphs on our homework.
No, on your homework you can just do the last graph. Just for the sake of learning, we did them all separately.
Is it okay if I draw my graph wrong?
Draw your graph wrong? Like the axes?
Yeah.
Are they crooked or something?
What do you think? It's not through the middle.
Oh, it doesn't have to be through the middle.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right. So what I want you to do is graph the lines, but don't shade. So we're going to take that first line, and so we're going to start at -3 and move up 1 over 2. So graph that one over here. Start at -3, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. And that one was dashed. So make it dashed. And like I said, do not shade yet. Whoops. But on that one, did we shade above or below? We shaded above. So I want you to just draw little arrows pointing the way that we need to shade. And then do the same thing for the other one. So the other one, we started at +5. We went down 3 over 2. That one was solid. Kind of messed it up. And we shaded below that one, so I'm going to draw little arrows pointing down. And I want you to look at that and see what portion of that graph is going to be the overlapped shading.
Down to like the negative portion.
This part, like the kind of top left portion of the graph? Yes. You want the part where the arrows point towards each other. Over here, that would only be red, so we don't want that. Down here would only be blue. We don't want that. That would be nothing. So we only want this area where both the graphs would be shaded. So this is what I want for your homework. If you want to do the 3 separate graphs, you can, but you need to have the last one where they're put together. If you want to just only do that one where they're put together, great, fine. I just wanted you to see kind of it all fall into place. Now we have a word problem here. Lucky for you, this is your only word problem today. All right, we're just going to do one together, and then you don't have to worry about it on your homework. But we're going to do this one together. Jenna spends at most 150 minutes a night on math and science homework. All right, at most 150 minutes, and we're talking about math and science. That seems like important things to know. She spends at least 60 minutes on math. We need to write and solve a system of inequalities to model how she allots her time for these 2 subjects. Alright, first let's figure out what our variables are going to be. We're talking about two different subjects, right? Math and science. So what letters do you want? M and S? Sounds great. So math will be M, science will be S. And that's going to be the time she spends on it. So math and science together, so I'm going to add them, is at most 150. What inequality sign do I use for at most? Definitely going to be or equal to, but if the max is 150, it could be less than that, right? So we're going to use less than or equal to. Now, the other sentence said at least 60 minutes on math. So math is going to be what than 60? If it's at least 60 minutes. Greater than or equal to. Do you spend 60 minutes on math every night? No.
I spend on English.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That was rude. Okay. So those are our equations. So you can put the brace next to it saying that is our system. Because I know you're all very good at drawing that thing.
It's hard to draw.
I don't draw it perfectly, so if you're copying me, sorry. Now, to solve it, what we're going to do is we're going to graph it. So we're going to show our solution on a graph. So let's see. Let's draw time. It's only positive. So only need the first quadrant. Let's make math on the x-axis, and we'll make science on the y-axis, vertical axis. And are both of these ready to graph? No, the first one has two variables on one side. Since we have s in place of y, usually we get y by itself, so let's get s by itself. So m plus s less than or equal to 150. I'm going to subtract the m. So m will be less than or equal to, wait, I did that wrong. S, whoops, will be less than or equal to negative m plus 150. Alright, so we need to graph this one and this one. Let's see. We know our y-intercept is going to be 150. So if the top of our graph is 150, let's go by 30s. So 30, 60, 90, 120. And then on the other side, 30, 60, 90. Kind of ran out of room, 120. Let's start with the equation with both variables. S is less than or equal to negative m plus 150. So my y-intercept is 150. My s-intercept is 150. What's the slope? Negative 1 over 1. Well, we went by 30, so is negative 1 over 1 equivalent to negative 30 over 30?
Yeah.
Yes, so let's go down 30, right 30, down 30, right 30, down 30, so on and so forth. So down. So we've got 120, or 30, 120, 60, 90, 90, 60, 120, 30, and then it would keep going. Is that line going to be dashed or solid? It's going to be solid because it's or equal to. And then will we shade above or below that?
Less than, so below.
Below. But remember, this is a system, so don't shade the whole thing. Just draw some little arrows to help us remember what part we need. All right. Now the other one, excuse me, is m is greater than or equal to 60. That m we put on the x-axis, right? So if it helps you, look at that as x is greater than or equal to 60. When you only have one variable, it's going to be a straight line, either straight across horizontally or straight up and down vertically. What's this one going to be?
Vertically.
Vertically, right? Because you start where your m is 60 and you need that whole line right there. Ooh, should it be solid or dashed? Solid. It has or equal to. That worked out for me. And then will we, since it's greater than, are we going to need the shaded part on the right side or the left side of the graph?
Right.
The right side. Okay, so where is our solution?
Down in this little triangle at the bottom.
Down in the little triangle at the bottom is where the graphs overlap. So any coordinate in there will satisfy Jenna's requirement of how much time she spends on homework. Like say she takes this point right here. That'd be 90 minutes on math and 30 minutes on science. So that's definitely less than 150 together and more than an hour on math. Okay, or if she took any points that are on this line would max out her 150 minutes. Like that one, 90 minutes on math, 60 minutes on science would max it out. Probably the least amount that she could spend on homework would be 60 on math and none on science. Just thinking. Okay, so that is the solution. We good? Did it work for you to only make one graph instead of the 3? Yeah, okay. All right, one more. The last 5 on your homework are going to include at least one absolute value graph. Okay, what shape do absolute value graphs make?
Straight line. No, they make the.
They make the V. The lines, linear makes a line. Absolute value makes a V shape. So we've got one of each, and we're going to do the same thing. Mark where we would shade, and we need the overlap. So are these two equations or inequalities ready to graph?
Yeah.
Yes. You want to start with the y's less than 4? Okay, so I need some axes, I guess. And then, so we just had, up there we had a vertical line. Is this one going to be vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, where y is 4, right? And is it going to be dashed or solid?
Right dash.
Dashed is correct because it did not have a or equal to. Will we shade above or below this? Below is correct because it's less than. So draw some arrows pointing down. That's where we're going to shade.
Then start at +3.
Yes, for absolute value, let's just review real quick. Does the H or the K send it up and down?
H is up and down. Oh,
That'd be vertically. Is it the number on the outside or the number on the inside that makes it move vertically? It's the outside, because if you remember, H horizontal, yeah, okay. So the number on the inside makes it go right and left. So we're going to either move right or left. Which way are we going to move from the origin? Remember, H is weird and backwards?
yeah, so we need to be right.
We're going to move right. So from the origin, instead of our vertex being there, we're going to move it over 3. So there's our new vertex. And then to get another point, just make a chart. Pick something to plug in for x. What do you want? 2. Sounds good. So if I plug 2 in for x, so y would be less than or equal to 2 minus 3. What is 2 minus 3?
2 plus 3.
What?
2 plus 3 is absolute value, right?
No, you got to simplify what's inside first. 2 minus 3 is -1. What's the absolute value of -1? +1. So we're going to have 2, 1, is a point. You can reflect that to the other side of the graph, and you see where your V is going to be? We got the very bottom part of it. Is that?
Solid line.
Yes, very good. So that's a solid line because it has or equal to. Oops.
Is it okay if we go out of the like graph thing and look at it?
Like go beyond the grid.
Yeah, just kind of
Ye-
big.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd rather that than not cover the whole graph.
Triangle for the straight.
It's greater than, so we're going to shade above that absolute value graph. And it gave us the triangle is the intersection of where both of the graphs would be. If this drawing little tiny arrows method to see where they cross does not work for you, then try something else. Try shading like really, really lightly. Okay, so you could shade really lightly that down here would be graphed, and then like up here would be graphed, and you could see where the overlap is. Okay, if you need to do that. But the problem is that some people shade too dark and I can't see the overlap. So if you're going to do that, shade it really lightly to start out with, and then really darken the overlap part. All right, do you have any questions? No? All right, so you have 9 problems on your homework, and they're not word problems. Yay.